Morning.
Helps if I click the right button. Good morning, Sperry. Yeah, what a track this is, and as you were saying, it's a brilliant track to have a final round, and it's a brilliant circuit. Full stop. It's going to be a fantastic race. We know the championship is all but solved, but that doesn't mean that it's not a fantastic place to have the season finale, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to have a great race, and it doesn't mean that the rest of the championship is still up for grabs. It's still very, very tight in every position back from Matteo Ugolotti, who mathematically has this wrapped up, but every other position is well and truly up for grabs now.
Yeah, and there are lots of drivers today who haven't traditionally been here, but Ugolotti, you can see 18:45 compared to 17:46. Marquez needed a miracle today to make something happen, but that's not going to be the case. You've got Matt Wood third in the championship overall, best 8 of 12 score, which is one way to make sure that everyone gets themselves a fighting chance in the championship. You've got the likes of Oliveira, Bartosic, Cedric Beale there in 7th position. Ken Nielsen's had a great championship in 8th. Liam Buckley-Knight and Ben Horrell, who rounds out the top 10 overall on 1,230 points. But a lot of drivers today will be searching for opportunities, and it's those opportunities that we will see as we zoom into the South American continent. We look down, you can see we're a stone's throw away from Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and the Copacabana beach, just a little bit further up as they go through. But Sao Paulo, a hotbed of racing action. Interlagos for a number of years since the 70s has been wonderful, and it's not often that you see a circuit right in the middle of the city, and this is what Interlagos is, something truly, truly special.
100%, and while it's not the same circuit it was once upon a time, it is still such an iconic track and still has so many amazing sections to it. Of course, the original circuit, you can sort of make it out around the outside, where a lot of the infield section actually ran the opposite direction, and it now is absolutely brilliant and provides some amazing action every single time we come here, whether it's in a V8, an MX-5, or the McLaren MP430.
And that McLaren MP430 today is going to be really tested as well with the track conditions. It is cold, 19 degrees, morning temps. At the moment, it's Kane Halliburton up top at the times, with Jorge Marquez currently in 2nd position. So a lot to try and uncover and dissect. They get 2 laps here in qualifying to get everything sorted out. And if they don't, well, then it's all not going to pay out for those who want to get it all nicely working. A few drivers out there searching for their first times on the board, others for their second. There is Kane Halliburton showing that he is top of the pops at the moment with a almost 2/10 margin. Number 7 car is making progress now as Halliburton is on his 2nd lap at this moment in time going through. This is Jinsei Hook then making a charge, and that's a 108.846. A good time there by Jin, moving up then into the top 5 with that time. That's a pretty good effort. Kane Halliburton making that charge over towards the line as well. We'll see what Kane can find. It's got to be Kane over the line, and that is an extra 3/10. He's half a second clear of the field. I'll tell you what, if he decided to put a whole season together on this, he'd give Ugolotti a run.
100% he would have. It would have been fantastic to watch too, but unfortunately that is not the case as Thomas Knoll improves his time anyway. Won't improve his position. It's a nice lap from him. But not many more drivers out on the circuit. Just had Nurmela across the line go P3. Stay P3. And there was another car that just crossed the line as well, but I can't see them on my timing screen now.
Yeah, it's very easy to see. John Pat Kelly's going on to start his one of 2 flying laps. Quick lap around here. Nielsen to the line then. Remains in 13th. Sayuk then over the line. Puts a 108.699. Put that up on the 2nd row of the grid. That's a really good time in the mock Ferrari paint there. Getting it all nicely done. Adam Webb as well going on to start a flying lap. Thomas Knoll, you can see here, is on technically lap 3. So any lap time that he does will not be counting towards his times overall out there. So it's legitimately down to John Pat Kelly and Adam Webb to see if they can improve. Everyone else has done all their laps.
Nurmela's only done... No, he's
all
done
his laps.
Yeah, he's done all these laps. Oh, shut up. You're paying more attention than me. I'm looking at different numbers and it's not showing properly for me, so I'll just use that as an excuse. But John Pat Kelly, seasoned veteran in this series, only driver other than he and Adam Webb to set a time. It's surprising that Webb's left it so late to put in a lap time. He's normally one of the first who tries to get out there and break everyone's hearts and break everyone's backs very, very quickly. As John goes to P17. The last of our drivers to register a lap time at this stage. Adam Webb, let's see what he can do.
Adam Webb had issues getting into the server, I think. I saw him very late in, and that, as such, has meant that he's had to go out late and make that decision. 3:38 over the line. Lap doesn't count. He's invalidated it, so he's really on a fine knife edge right now. He's got 62 seconds when he crossed the line to get his time in. Fortunately enough, a lap around here is 58 to 60 seconds as John Pat Kelly attacks the middle sector.
It's okay so far too, this lap, doesn't it? Sector split times don't look too bad for him. All personal best so far. Sector that he just went through there, sector 3, actually not too bad in the micro sector splits. He comes through the final sector. The iRacing timing breaks this circuit up into 5 sectors, and the first 4 look pretty good. Should be an improvement, and it is.
Yeah, a good improvement from John Pat Kelly, able to get a little bit more out of the lap that he needed to. And there you can see one driver jumping into the pits. There is Adam Webb, who is making that drive over towards the line. 14.2 was his outlap time, and as he crosses the line with about 5 seconds to go overall, that's a 109.6. That is good enough there to move to 17th position, just corrected to a 109.598. So let's get a grid up for you here, ladies and gentlemen. All-time score complete at the final round here at Interlagos, and we'll see who has put themselves exactly where. It is a fantastic grid here, and we'll be seeing it is Kane Halliburton up there at the front. Club UK and Ireland putting it on the pole position of 108.180, with Jorge Martinez second in the championship, second in iRacing, and second on the grid. Marco Nurmela will start this one from third, teammate with Kane Halliburton, with Jin Se-yuk in 4th position overall. Darren Parker got a good qualifying today. He starts from 5th, with Thomas Bartosic there in P number 6. Reynaldo Augusto then, good qualifying on home soil. He goes from 7th, with Klaus Siemens in 8th, and another Brazilian, Kleber Toffoli, starting in 9th, with Yuki Shirakawa. I always have a soft spot for a Japanese driver, in 10th position. Liam Buckley starts 11th, with Christoph Montz there in 12th place on the grid overall. And over to 13th position will be Kent Nielsen here, the Canadian, with a pretty okay run, but is known for being good in the races. John Pat Kelly is alongside him. Then it's John Atkinson Jr. and Thomas Knoll sharing row 8 of the grid with Adam Webb and Steve Giori, 2 drivers who know each other very, very well. And then to row 10, one final driver there is Jonathan Oshaline, then, who did a 110.371 overall. Drivers looking to get themselves on the grid. We're already just waiting for one driver. That is Marco Nurmela to take his spot on the racing line, position number 3. Everybody on the grid then here. 47 laps, 2/3 of a Formula 1 distance. 1 pit stop will be required. Let's get ourselves ready then at Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Green flag, and we are underway. Slow start from Se-yuk there on the second row, as was then going for Nurmela. They cross the beams for turn 1, and suddenly, having the inside at 2, round, Se-yuk makes contact. It's the lead going though as they go on through, and Moy gets ferried all the way to the barriers. 3-4 involved.
Wow, what a big hit that was. There was all sorts going on there, and Se-yuk is probably the worst out of that. Going to continue on though, surprisingly. Everyone, even though there is that damage, is going to continue on as Darren Parker just lost a spot there. Sorry, gained a spot to from Thomas Knoll. But that battle at the front, it's on. Halliburton didn't get as good a launch as I would have expected him to get. Martinez is right there, but those top 4 have broken away due to the chaos that ensued behind.
Martinez did grab the lead for a brief second, but Halliburton got it back through turn 2. through all of the dramas, but the top 4 clear at the moment. Halliburton, Marquez, Nurmela, and then Bartosic. It's a long look back to Shirakawa in 5th, and some good battling here between Darren Parker and Thomas Knoll. Knoll with a really good start, looking to climb up the hill. Renato Augusto got involved in that first lap incident there. He's not had any luck all season. It has been following him around that he doesn't keep himself out of troubles, but Thomas Knoll not needing DRS at all to make that pass into turn 1. That opens on lap 3.
Here comes Marquez trying. So he's just lost his spot there to Nurmela, so he's got to get the spot back.
Certainly does, and that's Bartosic down the inside of him there, and he's going to lose 2 for his trouble. So what happened there? He was attacked into turn 1, was Jorge Marquez, and all of a sudden they had to keep it wide through 2 and 3, and just like that, Nurmela just getting a really good drive, and Bartosic just followed on through.
Yep. Nice move, but yeah, Bartosic took advantage of that, didn't he? Because Marquez was compromised with his run out of turn 3 through the centre S, and he had no choice but to give up the spot there to Bartosic. Great move. He's done a very, very good job to get that one done.
Yep, an incredible move then, and one which makes sure that that battle 2nd, 3rd and 4th continues, and makes sure that Bartosic has that chance to get away at this moment in time. So Kane Halliburton in control at the front of this field, and drivers all trying to put themselves into a good place. Worth noting, there was only one driver coming out of the pits now. That is Jinsei Yuk, who will be just about not lapped, but now is, and is on the medium compound tyres, and will be on those for a very long time, then trying to go through. Only driver in the field now on the mediums, as we get a real scrap in the middle here to Foley being challenged by Adam Webb and John Atkinson Jr. as they go into Desquita de Lago turn 4, one of the key places to get it done, and they're going to fight all the way up the hill to the horseshoe of Ferradura.
Interesting thing there was the DRS for half of the guys in that little group. So of course started lap 3, means that DRS is now activated, and straight away I think we saw Webb and one of the others in that group, the 4 cars, 2 on the inside and DRS and 2 on the outside didn't. Very, very cool to see, but a very, very good battle as well. What's this, 7, 8 cars all together.
All together in the mid-pack, John Pat Kelly, Christoph Montz, Giori, Renato Augusto's there, Jonathan Oshalim at the very back of the field's also on this one as well. They're all stacked behind Darren Parker at this moment, and it's an important stacking process here in the early going. So they've all got to try and get through. There's the DRS flap going wide open for Claver Toffoli as into the pits comes Darren Parker then on lap 3 of the race. So Parker coming in for a stop. It looks like there's no damage on the car. That would probably be for some kind of penalty potentially, but it looks like he's stopping.
I think it may be damage that we can't see, possibly floor damage, because remember, he did get launched up into the air and his pace was horribly slow as well. You saw how easily he was passed and then gave up so much ground to everyone around him. When Thomas Knoll got through, I think he was gaining 3 or 4 seconds straight away, so he's lost a bit of ground that way. We also just saw... Oh, that's a...
Wow, he's gone!
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And skittles around everyone goes. Toffoli and Montz in the end making contact there. The dive down the inside by Toffoli to lock up, and there is Augusto trying to get the F1 Apps car around the outside then of Jonathan Oshalim and make sure that one sorts itself out. So a big amount of drama then early on in this race in the mid to late pack, and we'll catch this on the Virtual Racing School replay. Massive thanks goes to the Virtual Racing School sorting everything out for us here. But there's the look. He's already looked down the inside of one of the Phoenix Racing cars, and the other one just gets tangled up there with John Pat Kelly.
And John Pat Kelly didn't even see what happened. By the time he's got there, but where do I go, where do I go? Oh, hang on, there's a car moving across. And he sort of had nowhere to go but to make contact. It's unfortunate how that happened, but very, very common to see that sort of incident at that corner. So disappointing to see that happen, but it looks like everyone's got away reasonably okay as we watch Liam Buckley, Thomas Knoll go at it for P7, P8, and just ahead of them is Kent Nielsen, and not too far ahead is Shirakawa as well. So a nice little battle pack going on here for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th.
We certainly do, and that is all closing itself up, and you could argue that Jorge Marquez isn't a million miles away from this one either, but Yuki Shirakawa will be looking behind in this one, with Kent Nielsen, Liam Buckley and Thomas Knoll all trying to stay with in this battle as they cross the stripe once again, head towards turn number 1 and 2 out on track, or turns number 1 and 2 I should say. They're the Senna S, legendary driver in his own right, but these drivers know that this is a long game that they'll be playing around here. They can go out there and attack and try and get the place, or they can settle down in for this opening stint, get themselves to lap 24 if they can on the tyres. That will give them every opportunity to go soft towards the end, or if it doesn't go quite the way they want to on the tyres, they can always pivot to the mediums.
100%. It's very, very open strategy-wise. Clever Toffoli bringing it into the lane, no surprise after that incident. Probably have a new front wing put on that car, which is exactly what he's done, so he's back out and away. Yeah, strategy-wise, with it being such a long race, we saw again last week too, it does open that strategy for the medium to be a little bit more viable with so many laps out there. But the other part to that is, as you said, the track is reasonably cool. Morning conditions for the race, so it's only 20 degrees Celsius out there. It means that the drivers probably finding the tyre wear a little bit less than what they would see on a very, very hot track, which is usually what we would see at Brazil.
Yeah, I've seen track temperatures here exceed 55 degrees, so the fact that it's down at 20 gives them reasons to be happy as they make that charge again down towards Desquita de Lago, and no real opportunities to make a move just yet because they find themselves in those quote-unquote draft trains, those DRS trains. There's Reynaldo Augusto trying to get by Steve Giori now for position, making a little look at it, but runs out of straight, has to hit the brakes, and as such, hunker down, you would say, right now. The middle sector approaches.
Yeah, this is where he's got to try and close ground, not necessarily get a move done here, but just close up the gap and try and make sure that he's well and truly within range once the DRS opens on the front quote-unquote straight. Not really a straight, is it? It's a very, very, very long uphill sweeping bend. Run from
it very much is. Darren Parker, by the way, is in the pits and retired, so that is a shame for Darren, who was looking for a good start, qualified it up in P5, and ultimately is going to get a big 0 out of it for this one. But Augusto still giving chase, still trying to get that one as close as possible. You can see the DRS flap wide open, looking for the run into one, diving for it with everything he's got, and you know what? He's going to pick it up as well. Steve Giori beaten there with a nice overtake.
Yeah, beautiful move. Classic move at Interlagos. And I believe the gap is already pulled. Giori's got DRS on the run back because the activation point is midway through the S's, but just nowhere near close enough to be able to get back through. So nice job there from Reynaldo Augusto to get that move done. Back up a spot. His recovery back to 12. Biggest mover in the field. We've got two drivers that are plus 8. Thomas Knoll, Adam Webb. Both made good positions from that lap 1 cluster, I guess is a good way to describe that group of cars that all came together. I don't know how else you can describe it other than a mess.
It was almost like a scene out of a movie there as they all carried on forward in that lap 1 incident. Kane Halliburton leads by 3.8, now down to 3.6 here through the opening couple of sectors. But as they sweep on through, that's the battle. There is the driver in 5th position, Yuki Shirakawa, holding himself in very nice esteem, up 5 places off of the start. And what's key, it was Seamitz, it was Augusto, it was Parker, it was Sayuk, who all got involved. Toffoli could say in that one as well. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 on the grid, all getting caught up at lap 1. Everyone else scampered on through.
Yeah, exactly right. There's probably one of those situations where it's better to be slightly further back because you can get around and see what's going on with those big incidents ahead. So one of those fortunate positions where a bad qualifying, not necessarily a bad thing because you can see that big incident at the start and gain yourself some spots. But Reynaldo Augusto, probably the most notable out of the drivers that is continuing on, but still a fair way back. Kane Halliburton, interestingly, lap time-wise, could punch out some really, really quick lap times, but he's dialed it back down, and Marco Nermala lapping it very, very identical lap pace. And Martinez is starting to now find his rhythm and starting to claw that gap back down. But I'm wondering if Martinez may have a tiny little bit of damage from that lap 1 incident with Shayhook, who was right behind him. They did make slight contact. No, sorry, that wasn't Martinez, because Martinez was up with Halliburton. Ignore my statement there. So, but there definitely was someone that is continuing on in that front group that Shayhook did make a little bit of contact with before he ended up flying through the air.
Of course, that would have been Darren Parker, who has retired the car then from this race, so that little bit of contact was a bit of trouble. But now the battle goes away from Yuki Shirakawa over to Kent Nielsen and Liam Buckley now in the default paint, you could say, here in iRacing, trying to close on forward. That indicates he doesn't have a team that he races with. Thomas Knoll, of course, is there just behind as well, making that drive then on the front stretch. And of course, with no DRS to help this time for Kent Nielsen, he'll have to defend into turn number 1. Very unique style of corner with Senna S, because you've got that very long and looping entry into what is a very, very tight and surprisingly swift chicane.
It's on paper, it's a chicane, but it doesn't drive like a chicane. It drives more like, as it's called, an S. It's very similar in that way to the chase at Bathurst, or there's a lot of corners that on paper are technically chicanes, but definitely don't drive like one. So I can't think of any more now that I've made my statement. It's way too early in the morning for me to be thinking.
Yeah, that's sometimes a little bit of a problem, isn't it? But the battle still continues then between Buckley and Nielsen. They take the descent down the hill through Mahulo. Wonderful left-hand corner. It's almost a transfer corner to Junsao, the junction. And as you exit the junction, you take this rise up the hill. It's flat through here all the way through Arquibancadas there, that first left. Skidados Boxes, the second left. And this is one of the tracks that I think would really, really get a lot of help from weather out there, if and when it does find its way to iRacing. This is the sort of track that you talk about how legendary the rainstorms are around this circuit, Jay. And pretty much a circuit that you get rivers flowing down Arquibancadas.
I mean, no track has rivers running on it like Spa right now, but yeah, I agree. The iconic races we've seen at this track with evolving weather, starting beautiful sunshine and getting into horrible wet conditions midway through the race, or vice versa, have a horrible storm and you think there's not even going to be a race, and then the sun's out and the track dries very, very quickly. So yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be one of the cool tracks once that does happen. It will happen eventually, but not quite yet. I say it's been cool to watch this lap on board with Liam Buckley. Very, very smooth. He just crosses the DRS line. You see the green light on the left-hand side of the wheel. That means that DRS is available. All 4 green lights on. That means he's got DRS open.
Yeah, certainly does. And despite having that DRS open, you will have to try and use that second bite of DRS here, going out of the Senna S through the Curva de Sol, the sun corner, and in towards then at the Esquina del Lago. But you can see immediately how Kent Nielsen just takes that narrow exit, keeps the turn in, and suddenly all of that momentum generated by being in the toes completely neutered for about half the straight. And that's what Liam Buckley's got to be alert to. He's got to follow in the wheel tracks. Speaking of wheel tracks, look where Jorge Martinez has found himself now, right within range with Thomas Bartosic.
Yep, and that magic 1 second barrier has been broken as well, so that means Martinez is now within DRS range. Interesting though that the fastest driver out on track at the moment is Marco Nurmela, followed by Martinez. So the gap between these guys and Halliburton is starting to close back up again. It was out over 4 seconds. Speaking of, he's making a pit stop already. We're seeing pit stops only 14 laps into this race. I'm a little surprised that we're seeing them this early.
Mediums. That will be white. They'll be going on for medium tyres at this stage. Watch they go through. No, it's going to be a case of a 2-stop then from Kane Halliburton. So back on the softs, this is a 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, I'm even more shocked by that now. We usually get a little bit of a heads up that we're expecting 2 stoppers or that, you know, something alternate strategy-wise is coming. But when we don't get told these things in advance, it usually means that the drivers that do fill us in with the info are confident that they can just do a normal, standard, soft strategy. So I'm a little shocked by that. Halliburton and Bartosic both in to get soft tyres and are going to two-stop this race.
Yeah, they are going to think about a two-stop. Now, this is something that's quite interesting. I did not see much tyre deg there from Kane Halliburton lap upon lap upon lap. You look at the times that he was doing. Okay, his fastest was a 109.9, but, you know, you can see over the course of his laps, he was consistently there, 10.5s, 10.6s. The moment he dropped to 10.9, that's it, tyres are gone.
Yep. Liam Buckley in as well. Thomas Knoll coming in too. Jorge Martinez is in. So
wow.
Nurmela, Shirakawa and Nielsen all still out there. I'm not necessarily surprised that it's a two-stop because, I mean, tyre wear is quite aggressive here. Liam Buckley gets a new front wing. You can see from the extra high lift of the car. I'm surprised that they're doing it on such cool track conditions. It's not hot out there at all. 21 degrees Celsius. What's that? 60, 70 something Fahrenheit. It is not hot at all. I don't get it. I'm dumbfounded. It's not something we've seen in 11 rounds so far. And to see it in the final round is sort of thrown us a little bit.
I'll tell you what, 21 degrees here in the United Kingdom right now would be absolutely nice and toasty. But in comes the race leader, Marco Nurmela, then. Also make a stop on lap 15 of 47. This is a really interesting battle. It puts Yuki Shirakawa out there in the lead. Kent Nielsen will also follow into the pits then. And the question will be now, what will Nurmela decide to go on to and do? Are they going to split the strategy there, I believe, Racecraft, as they get going? No, it's another set of soft compound tyres that goes on. So nobody wants to touch the mediums. I think Yuki Shirakawa is going to be one of the only drivers who goes to the medium or tries to extend that stint out.
Yeah, well, the only drivers on the medium are Claver Toffoli, who has got back out there, and Shayuk, who's also on the medium. Everyone else has gone soft that has stopped. Shirakawa, Klaus Siemens, Steve Giori, John Pat Kelly all have not pitted, as well as Oshler. So, yeah, I'm still scratching my head. You can hear it in my voice. I'm really surprised. It's not something we were expecting at all. I'll tell you what, this is going to get a little bit spicy. Klaus Siemens at the front of this group. This is for 4th, 5th and 6th on track at the moment. Siemens with Bartosic and Martinez closing in on fresh tyres. They'll be looking to take advantage of these fresh tyres as much as they can, punch out personal bests with those dropping fuel loads. And will we see Siemens come in? I don't think so. He's continuing on. So, he's going to go for yet another lap. Still at 30 plus laps to go in this race. Still a lot of racing left. Is Bartosic. Can't get through. That was close.
And look at how much it's checked him up. Martinez gets stuck out there in the dirty air, and he gets DRS along as well. And there's nothing you can do from this point onwards. Bartosic, of course, also gets DRS on the straight. So that is just about covered there by the number 3 machine compared to the 2. Siemens, of course, yet to make his stop. Nothing wrong that he did in terms of his drive. He's just got to stay patient out there and make sure that this race works for him. Oshalim then in the pits, 3.9 second stop, pretty bog standard going through. But there again is your race leader out there on circuit, Yuki Shirakawa, getting caught hand over fist right now by Kane Halliburton. That last time by, 1.8 seconds locked off.
Last lap by 2, Halliburton, fastest lap of the race. Only driver to do a 1 minute 9 second lap. That was a 9.95. And does another 9.9 on that lap there. So he is flying along. Bartosic, Martinez was doing 10s. And that'll be another 10 or 11 for those guys, because of course they did get past Klaus Siemens. And they have lost a little bit of ground to Nurmela ahead during the pit stop phase. Shirakawa comes out, and he's going to come out right with Kent Nielsen and Thomas Knoll. This might be a little spicy battle here.
Softs as well, so that is going to be a 2-stop on top of that. I thought we just there hit the range for a medium to go to the end, because you'd think 27 or 29 laps it would have been on the medium compound, I'm sure that it would have been good to work, unless you can really struggle to get the medium compound up to temperature here in these cooler conditions. So it looks like, at least for the moment, we've got an interesting scrap on our hands as we go through. Now, Klaus Siemitz, of course, has still stayed out there at this stage. He'd be the only one I'd consider in this one to think about a one-stop. And the thing about a one-stop compared to a two-stop is that, yes, drives around you can be more aggressive out there on the tyres and get through their tyres a little bit quicker. They still have to get past you, which is the difficult part.
Yeah, and the other part too is you still have to come in and you stop down on track. I mean, you're not out on track, you're in the pit lane, but you still stop. Then that's 4 seconds that you stopped. I guess the one saving grace in that aspect as well is that it's a fairly short pit lane in comparison to others. Pit entry and pit exit, very, very aggressive. So that does help a little bit. But the reason also that we're saying that we're confident now that it's a two-stop, because the way that the tyre and the fuel load goes off, if you can make it 30 laps on a soft, most drivers will do that in their first stint or split at 50-50. They wouldn't do the short stint first and the long stint second, because it negates any advantage that you would have on the newer tyre. So that's the reason why we're thinking that this is a two-stop now rather than a one-stop, and they're going to make it 30 laps on softs. It's definitely looking like we're going to see another pit stop around about lap 32.
Yeah, lap 32 looks like it's going to be one of the keys. So they're going to split this one up into stints of 15 or 16, you would have thought, here out there in this race, compared to a rather longer stop out there. You can see a little bit of a wider line there from Thomas Knoll, who is currently classified in 8th position at the moment. Just the handful of drivers yet to stop: Siemitz, John Pat Kelly and Steve Giori. Giori under pressure now from Adam Webb, trying to make a way on through, because Liam Buckley has already made his pass. Watch how DRS works, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Webb to the inside, and as easy as you like. How many times have we seen that overtake over the years that we've been covering this series? Beautifully done.
It's been a little while since we started doing this series. I think it's our 5th season now, as Giori gets DRS back again, but won't be able to close in. And the evolution of this series has been pretty cool as well. Remember when we first started doing this series, it was still in the Williams. Went back to the McLaren late last year, and the car definitely seems to have found a new lease on life, hasn't it? Drivers are coming back to the series. We're seeing ring-in drivers that are coming in and enjoying themselves. We're seeing all different sorts of drivers coming in and racing, and it's always put on a great show, this series. It always seems to provide great racing and great strategy. I love strategic races as much as really cool short on-track battles. Adam Webb has a massive moment, and all of that advantage you just gained with the DRS before, you're going to lose it, because Giori's going to have the DRS activation even though he's ahead. No, he doesn't. He wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he does.
Certainly does. So that is a case for Adam Webb of getting a little bit unlucky at Junsao. It's such a difficult corner to get right at times, though, because you take it for granted. It's just a 90-degree left-hander which just opens up the hill. The issue is you're putting the power up the hill when the car isn't planted. That's why you get spins to the inside.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a bizarre corner. It's a real steep hill as well. It doesn't look that steep when you're just looking at it visually, but to drive it in a low horsepower car is when you really notice how steep that hill is up the rise out of that final corner. So very, very difficult circuit, this one, but it's been a fun season to cover as well, and we've seen all different sorts of racing. We saw the domination of Ugolotti early on, and then the return to form of Marquez, and it was great to have someone challenge him for a lot of the season too, wasn't it?
It certainly was, but at the same time, Matteo Ugolotti was clearly a cut above everyone else as we continue to focus on Adam Webb versus Steve Giori here. That battle looking pretty close here towards turn number 1. Kane Halliburton fastest lap of the race, but down the inside, Adam Webb making amends, getting that move nicely all sorted out. Want to keep an eye out on Shirakawa for a moment, because Kent Nielsen here has really done wonders here, as now here comes the second part of the move. Then the Phoenix Racing car of, I believe, John Atkinson Jr. now trying to angle to the inside of Giori. He's going to leave the door wide open, say thank you very much. You may as well come in and take a little gander over. But Shirakawa here, as Kent Nielsen and Thomas Knoll for company, has been struggling to get those tyres working in comparison here and getting them to a really nice place. It's been really awkward to see this for Shirakawa, who of course is on the freshest tyres of anyone.
Yeah, exactly right. It's been interesting that he has struggled as much. I just want to quickly talk on that fastest lap from Halliburton too. 5 consecutive laps of a 1 minute 9.9, and he's just ruined that little streak now with a 10.2 as he passes, starting to slowly catch up to some lap traffic. But yeah, this little battle, Shirakawa, Nielsen and Knoll, very, very interesting little battle pack going on here. And Shirakawa, surprising that he's been struggling to get the car back up to pace. Thomas Knoll, the fastest out of the 3 drivers in this group as well. He's found a little bit of pace in the latter phase of the season, as has Kent Nielsen. His form in this second half of the championship has been phenomenal, and I would say he's been the most improved driver in this season.
I'd have to agree with you. Kent Nielsen looking very racy out there today, as he looks to get onto the back of Yuki Shirakawa and make that move if possible here, taking that rise up to the Bico de Pato, the Duckspill corner, the tightest corner and slowest on the circuit as you go on through. And really, you would say for Kent Nielsen that this season has been all about learning, and I think he's just taken advantage of what the car has given. One of the things there is there's been a little bit of a moment in front for the non-pitted Klaus Siemens. This is going to be an easy move, you'd feel, unless, on cue, lap 23, Siemens is going to dive into the pits on that. The tyres have completely let go. He's done well to go this far, and I'll tell you what, he's trying to go soft here all the way to the end.
Yeah, and the halfway point as well means that we can almost confirm 100% that it'll be soft. So, Martinez as well. I'm surprised he hasn't been able to get past Bartosic. His pace has been so much better. That's something that's really surprising me. John Barcali in as well, Giori in, so everyone has now made one pit stop.
Everyone has, and we continue to see that battle for 3rd and 4th then as Bartosic and Martinez descend down the hill. It's 4 seconds down the road to Marco Nurmler, and then a further 6 over to Kane Halliburton. But as they crest the rise once again, Martinez struggling a little bit to put that power down due to the dirty air effect, those turbulences that go over the car, which really buffet you through a corner. You really do like these open Formula vehicles to have clean air to go out there and attack, and on the brakes they go into the left. It's going to be pretty much nice and okay. Jin Seyuk then has decided to retire the car overall. 7 laps down now in this one, so 17 runners remaining.
17 of our 19 starters still out there on track, and one of those is on the mediums, that being Clay Toffoli, which when he pitted, which was lap 7, lap 8. He's got a long way to go on those mediums, but the only driver out there on the medium tyre means that he may find a little bit of an advantage in a few laps' time, but he's possibly still got some other damage as well from that incident earlier on, because his pace is just not there at all. Speaking of pace not being there, Shirakawa has just been passed by Kent Nielsen.
That's a mistake.
Okay.
That is pure pressure on the virtual racing score replay. You're going to see this here. Going to be into the Laranjina corner, which is just after Ferradura, and very easily done as well. And he's just about to lose another one, by the way, to Tom Knoll as they go through. So on the brakes, into the right, forced error, just runs it deep. And thank you very much. I am taking that one with a little bit of gusto. But what pace Shirakawa has under the slipstream in front. He's just able to pull away from Thomas Knoll through that section of road. I think Shirakawa's got that suited here for straight line.
It's a track where you need a lot of compromise in your setup, isn't it? Because the straights are so long, but the corners aren't really designed for a low downforce setup. They need much higher downforce because of the elevation that go with the corners and the different cambers that you have, you want higher downforce to be able to grip the car to the road. So very, very big compromise needed setup-wise, whether you go low or high. And I think he's opted for more of the lower strategy, which is why we've seen a couple of mistakes from him. But the straight line pace is actually very, very good. Watch at the moment, 7/10 of a second back at this point. By the time he gets into turn 1, that'll be down to 2/10.
It will. And I tell you what, it's interesting seeing the times between the top two, because Nurmela's starting to reel in Kane Halliburton. The gap down now to 5.4 seconds. There's Shirakawa here we look at, Noel, and crucially Buckley is 6 seconds down the road, so not necessarily a factor just yet as they go into turn 1. It's worth noting a little look there on the inside in third and fourth's battle. Marquez has started to get in the mirrors and go to the 101 book.
He might be starting to get frustrated because he's definitely got more pace than Bartosic, looking at lap times and things like that. He's definitely able to pull away, but we see this time and time and time again. Being faster doesn't necessarily mean you can get the move done. You mentioned it before. While you've got the better tyres, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually overtake the car ahead. Needs a perfect run out of here. But Bartosic got the perfect run there too. Across the DRS line at 2.5 tenths of a second. I don't think he's going to be close enough to get this done, especially as Bartosic brings it right over to the wall to try and gain a little bit of aero. Just hasn't quite got enough to get that move done.
Nope, not enough. And it is showing here that Jorge Marquez is stuck behind and needs to work on strategy. He's someone who's normally very good at saving the tyres, which makes me surprised to see him turn to a two-stop strategy as his port of call here today. I thought he would be, if anybody, the contender who'd go out there and one-stop this one to try and get himself home and dry. But at least for the moment, Marquez going through up at Ferradura. This middle sector, you need to be so alert, and it's the mechanical grip of the middle sector which makes this one so good.
100% agree. It's a fantastic circuit all around, isn't it? And to think that the original circuit went the opposite direction, I think the elevation around this circuit means that going either direction is absolutely brilliant. There's other tracks as well that also use that section that went the other way. But Phillip Island originally was designed to go the other way, as Marquez is close enough to get the draft and pull alongside, but he's going to have to go the long way around, and they've got traffic as well to deal with. But that's done.
And dusted potentially. Bartosic has got to attack back through this next section, but here's the DRS. He'll get that look to the inside. That's one of the issues here with the DRS on the exit of turn, or on the entry to turn 2 almost. And there on the outside again, it's Marquez. They'll fight all the way to Ferradura. What a wonderful battle between these two. Bartosic though stuck on the outside, trying to get any form of cornering there. He won't be able to. Marquez secures P3.
And that took him, what, 4 or 5 laps to actually get that move done. He'd been trying and planning that for a while and trying to work out where he was strong, and almost forced a micro mistake from Bartosic. Rather than actually getting the move done himself, he had to do it by forcing the smallest little error out of Bartosic. The interesting thing is, Bartosic is probably closer now than right now on in DRS range than Marquez was for a lot of those laps. So this is not over. While we say that Marquez is finally through, Bartosic is still going to be there. Look at that, right on cue, right there at the end to potentially get the move done. And big mistake for Marquez. Bartosic back through.
Yeah, Marquez outbroke himself into one. That is Bartosic, and how much he is really pushing to try and make these races happen at this stage. And Marquez now has work to do here in this one to keep himself afloat in the battles that we have going on. Worth keeping an eye on the front battle, as there is Shirakawa and Nelson. Shirakawa getting nicely back into it here, as of course he's got fresher tyres out there, so he's coming back later on in stints. Speaking of that, Marco Nurmela, he has just taken out a whole second so far over Kane Halliburton. I think Kane's hit the cliff again.
Yep. That lap there was a 10.9, so I think he's going to come in this lap. He's done 16 laps in this stint. He did 14 in the first stint. That'll leave him 17 laps to do in the next stint. He's going to try and go one more out of it.
One more. You can see it's an 11-2. Nurmela looks really, really good right now. That's another 10-3. 3.5 seconds the gap. Kane will be sweating in his boots that his teammates starting to close on back into him here. And this race definitely far from over.
100% it's far from over. And speaking of far from over, Marquez was out to an almost 1 second disadvantage on that last lap. He's all of a sudden brought it back to DRS range already. So really, really cool little battle here. Pick the right button here. There we go. There it is. Thomas Knowles come in. Just behind him, Liam Buckley is coming in as well.
So now we're starting to hit those takes. 19.5 seconds for Noel then on the lane going through. Bartosic still in front then of Jorge Marquez. They fight for the final spot on the podium. That gap really close between them, but Marquez is a wizard when it comes to saving tyres and giving himself room to attack late in races. So Bartosic knows that he's not fully out of the woods just yet, and now into the pits comes race leader Kane Halliburton. Nurmela will stay out then and go again. Another 10-5 from Nurmela, looking really good. He'll have to respond here to Kane Halliburton. In comes Bartosic and outstays one driver, being Jorge Marquez. He wants the lap of DRS there into one to give himself an attack then, try and make it work once more.
Yeah, not a bad ploy to stay out with the DRS to give yourself that extra little boost for your in-lap. And of course, Bartosic will have the disadvantage. Interesting too, Bartosic just stopped there. A little bit longer than what we would normally see. 4.5 seconds. We don't normally see pit stops much longer than 4 seconds, but 4.5. That's a huge disadvantage. If Marquez can put it on the spot perfectly, he can find himself half a second. What was the gap before the pit stops? Half a second. If he can find that in the stop, he may be able to come out ahead and maybe even able to find himself ahead of DRS range.
Definitely could do. Definitely is an option, and we'll see whether that option becomes reality. There is Jorge Marquez right now, the red and black helmet on, as he takes that rise up the hill towards Arquibancadas and Esquina dos Boxes out there overall. In comes Clayton Foley for his stop, and will there be a follow-in from Marquez? Yes, there is. Nurmela has stayed out then for another lap, has done 11 flat. His tyres just about have hit the cliff now. He needs to come in ASAP, and now you'd say for the moment, race on between Marquez then and Bartosic.
Yep, Kent Nielsen has also come in. Shirakawa staying out. So battle continues there. 3.2 second stop for Marquez, but crucially the in-lap wasn't quite good enough. They're going to come out almost side by side. Battle's on again. Love it.
Oh, you absolutely do. Marquez must be sick of the back, though, of Thomas Bartosic. He's seen that all race long, and he's been struggling to find ways through to make that happen. Out of the pits comes Kent Nielsen. Now, this is really important here. Nielsen's right behind Klaus Siemet, so this will give emphasis for Shirakawa to stay out for a couple more laps.
Yep. It means that Shirakawa needs to push it as hard as he can for as long as he can. His lap times aren't that bad either as Nurmela comes in. It'll be interesting to watch that gap between Nurmela and Halliburton. Interesting thing I've noticed is that the actual, by the time you add your transit time in, oh no, Klaus Siemet's around.
Sounds like there's contact as well. There was an apology from Kent Nielsen immediately as out of the pits they go. It was at the Bica de Pato as we catch this on the virtual racing score replay. Looks like it was a bit of netcode there as well going through the corner. So they enter here this fantastic Pinarino section up the hill to the Bica de Pato, and you'll see it very plain as day as Nolan also that is Nielsen battling it out, but there's the contact that you can see. That's how easily it goes wrong. Now, look what's crucial on the exit here of the pit. Shirakawa has just jumped Nielsen and Noel.
Yep. We're both probably a little surprised he came in when he did, but he's done well and possibly knew that something had happened there to Nielsen and Noel, because they did continue on and pushed on pretty quickly, but they may have lost 3 or 4 tenths of a second, and that was enough for him to know, yes, I can get through. Adam Webb also doing a great job. Now he's right behind Klaus Siemetz. up 7 spots from where he started, and I think this will be 8 in just a moment's time. Have a look at the lap time. Just then, though, all the fresh tyres of Kane Halliburton, fastest lap of the race. His laps in the last stint he was doing 9.9s. He's just absolutely smashed that out of the park. 9.3. What a way to stamp your authority on the race after the pit stops.
Yeah, traffic gets well out of the way through that section. Jonathan Oshalee there, so that battle still very much alert and on at this point in time, as is this one for 3rd and 4th position. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Marquez still within 0.7 of a second, trying to keep this one pretty close out there on track. Adam Webb as well now will be looking to battle with Klaus Siemitz as well on circuit. So we've got a lot of battles, the little 2-car battles between now and the end of this one. And there is Adam Webb trying to close on in for 9th position here on the brakes into the left of turn 4, and trying to keep it nice and neat as you now climb back up the hill.
Interesting too that Clever Toffoli's decided the mediums are no-go anymore. He's coming in the pits to put on a set of softs and get himself home to the end. So those mediums were sort of a compromise to ensure he didn't have to do a 3-stop after his issues early on in the race. He's continuing on P16, 1 lap down. Marco Nurmela's first flying lap with these new tyres sets his fastest lap of the race. Bartosic sets his fastest lap of the race, as does Marquez. The only driver in the top 4 that didn't set their fastest lap of the race is Kane Halliburton. He was almost a second off his best lap.
That tells you all you need to know. He used a lot of his tyre life early, and now he's just managing the gap at this point. They are all in 110s behind as they try and push and try and get themselves through, and we'll see how it goes between now and the end of this race, how they all continue to deal with those scraps and make sure that the tyres work to their favours. But at least for the moment, Jorge Marquez still on his battle, as we can see from the rear wing. We go as we can go into the next right. Now the real question is, I wonder how long it will take iRacing to actually develop flex in those rear wings. They always keep talking about those flexy rear wings. It's the big new thing that everyone doesn't like. No flex, they're just absolutely there and driving with everything they've got.
That's the only flex I've got, is a flexi wing.
Yeah?
So, that's the only way I can flex anything. But yeah, I'm sure that they're working on it and trying to work out. I mean, we've had the cool addition of the head wobble, which looks a little bizarre, but it looks incredibly accurate, because sure, it looks strange when you just look at it like, oh, why is the head bobbling so much? But you actually watch when you're on board and see how much a head moves around in real life. It does look very realistic. You can see just at the bottom of the screen, head moving a slight little bit, but the whole car is jumping around and vibrating and things like that, and that does transfer through the driver's body the whole way through a race.
Yeah, it certainly does. And this is those small things. Sometimes it's the little things that give you everything that happens. And on the brakes again, 11 laps to go. It will be 10 at the line when they cross over. But Jorge Marquez just again putting that pressure on. And this is very, very similar to that battle in 94 between Schumacher and Senna in the late stages, as we see again that scrap going on between Webb, that is Siemitz, and then just behind that you've got John Atkinson Jr. trying to get in. We were talking about that battle for 3rd and 4th. That battle very similar to Senna and Schumacher, and hopefully it doesn't end the same way for Marquez as it did with Senna, retirement.
Yeah, fingers crossed it stays clean, but the two drivers that have battled a lot and a very, very similar pace, they do drive very, very clean for the most part as well. So fingers crossed we do see a clean battle there. As interestingly, all of the top 4 have just set their fastest laps except for Halliburton again, but they're all now into the 9s.
They all are, and of course Halliburton is still pulling away, and they are going quicker and quicker as they burn the fuel loads. The battle still continues here. Atkinson Jr. looking to close. Half a defence there to the inside from Adam Webb, just trying to make sure that he can sight the corner at turn number 4. No chances then of making a move, but at least up the hill, Klaus Siemitz is really giving these drivers a fight. And look how much of slip there was through that section for Adam Webb. He couldn't turn in at all and got a torrent full of dirty air.
Amazing that the run that these guys have got and the pace difference that they've got, but they still can't make the move. Like, Fastest lap time for Webb is around about 0.4 of a second faster than Siemens, and another 1/10 of a second faster for Atkinson, but they still just can't get through on newer tyres in better tyre conditions with faster pace. It's just they can't quite get there at the right time.
Give it a moment.
Webb will now, though, because he's got the run. No, he's going to have to go the long way around. If he can hold it through one, he might be able to get it through two, and he does. Well, I'll tell you what's going to... No, he doesn't. And interesting, too, I'm wondering if Webb was actually ahead at the DRS line.
Oh, this is awkward.
Oh, no.
This is awkward. This is really awkward. Now to the outside, searching again goes Adam Webb. Four corners of searching Siemens. Oh, they almost interlock tyres, and again, they go pretty much side by side as they head up to Ferradura. Siemens is putting on a showcase here of how to defend with older tyres. Another little look to the inside from Adam Webb, and he couldn't get there.
I feel these guys might be starting to question their strategy on two stops, seeing how good Siemens is going on 15-lap-old tyres, because that's the limit, pretty much. That's the cliff point that we've seen from all of the drivers in the front few. But he's doing a great job of holding this position. Of course, one of only 3 drivers to do the one-stop strategy, the lead driver on the one-stop strategy, and he's doing fantastically holding onto the position and just putting the car in the right spot at the right time, has the right pace at the right time, and again, just able to hold the position.
There's no confidence from Adam Webb to go and make it happen. He's tried around the outside, it hasn't worked, and the moment he starts to get under pressure, well, John Atkinson Jr.'s turn now. He gets the inside on the brakes in the Phoenix racing car, and that is an easy overtake then to move up into the top 10. So John Atkinson Jr. now will get his chance. So too will Jorge Martinez, as he makes the run up the hill again. He just struggles through Archibangadas. I wonder if he's gotten higher downforce here, because Bartosic continues to have his number in this section. Every time he's looked anywhere near close, he's lost time on the straight.
He will top speed at the end of the straight there, the front straight. 3:28.1 for Bartosic and 3:33 for Martinez. So even with the DRS, he's not that much faster. That's not normally what we would see. We normally see a bigger gap, but side by side here, and Martinez again just can't get through.
And it's hurting. You're running out of time here, Jorge, if you want a podium to end your season on and effectively tip your cap. It's been a wonderful race that we have seen so far. Now John Atkinson Jr. has got to run right to the inside of Siemens as well. So there's the look in at 4. He was all the way over, nearly putting tyres in the grass, but that's how you make a move. John Atkinson Jr. is through on Siemens, but Siemens, he was half trying to get back there, and he's very nearly clipped the grass on the inside, which will allow Webb to think about an attack, but it's covered again on the inside.
I'm wondering if Adam Webb, I was going to briefly talk about it before we went back to the battle between Martinez and Bartosic, whether Adam Webb almost was thinking, all right, John Atkinson Jr. can go through, give him a chance to get the move done, because I can't do it. And then if he can't do it, I'm going to try and fight him and get that spot back. So now that Atkinson Jr. is through, have a look at the gap that he's already pulled. He's out to 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, that's telling. That is absolutely telling. Now here goes Adam Webb. He's seen how to do it, but he's not going to get help from the traffic here. They're going to be 3 wide here into turn number 1. This is going to get close. And ultimately, because they're going 3 wide, it's a case of Siemens taking liberties running deep. They both tried to outbrake each other, and Siemens picks it up for the first time. Second time, though, look at that. Well covered. Again to the outside, Adam Webb is going to have to go to make this happen. And this time, surely, he's got to put this one over in the books, and he does.
It's only taken him about 11 laps to get it done, or 10 laps on fresh tyres, but he's finally got the move done, and he's already 2.5 seconds back from Atkinson Jr. So that took way too long for Adam Webb. He'll be disappointed that it took him so long to get that move done, but he'll push on and try and close that gap. I'll tell you what, another battle's evolved. Chirikawa, we noticed, had pulled a decent gap in the pit stops, about 1.5-2 seconds. That's gone. Kent Nielsen is there, ready to pounce with only 5 laps left in this race.
We know that Kent's looked really good in the middle stints of stops, but at this stage, Shirakawa has been so consistent on his times. He's been consistently 1:10 mid all race long. Nielsen has been hitting a couple of 1:10 twos and threes as he closes up, but when he gets there, he then struggles and hits 10.7s, 10.8. That's the issue. You get caught around this place in dirty air, you struggle to get by, and it's that struggling to get by that you're seeing here right now. Shirakawa up 5 places in this race, Kent Nielsen up 7 looking for 8.
Yeah, Thomas Knoll as well, biggest movement in the field, 9 spots already. I'm going to say already, taking 40 plus laps to get there, man, but Kent Nielsen, I'm so impressed with his driving in the second half of this season. He cannot be praised enough for his run in the second half of the championship. I'm so thrilled that he's had such a great second half of the season. He's definitely going to be one to watch next season. He'll be pushing for top 5 in the championship next season. I feel a legitimate chance of getting top 5 as well.
Very legitimate. Depends who turns up, of course. Every week is different, and we've got regular faces, but you can see just how aggressive he goes on the brakes. He's able to get right up underneath. I think he's got a run up here towards Ferradura if he can get himself the angle. It's in the middle of the road from Yuki Shirakawa going through, and now you got to wonder, have you got an angle to go through in towards the right? Oh, that's so late on the brakes. Room has to be given by Shirakawa, but not going to get it through the Pinarino. Trying to go up and under, but power on the exit just covered for the moment.
Great battle these guys putting on, and Thomas Knoll is there, but not quite close enough to get involved in the battle yet. He's just sticking literally just in DRS range.
Oh, Martinez round the outside trying. Has he got it on the inside here at 2? Oh, no, they're going to come together almost. Oh, you can't get any closer than that. That's incredible stuff. Now who's got DRS? Who's got DRS? Bartosic is coming straight back with it. That's the hurt. But on the outside, it is Martinez through.
Oh, I thought when Martinez cut back across in front that he was going to get turned. I'm so glad that he didn't. But this battle is not over. 3 laps to go. Martinez is going to try and break the back of Bartosic. But has he got enough left in the tyre to be able to break the back of Bartosic? Has Bartosic got anything left to be able to come back? I'm going to say yes, because all he needs to do is just apply that tiny little bit of pressure. Martinez has been the trailing car for, 42 of the 45 laps that we've done in this race. Shirakawa has been passed by Nielsen. Oh, no, maybe not finished yet.
Oh, yes, he has.
Yep, Nielsen through. But Martinez, we saw earlier how easily he cracked under the pressure of actually having that spot. He had a breath, finally gone, yes, I'm through. By the time he's gone, yes, I'm through, he's made a mistake and lost the spot back. So he's got to be very, very careful, have his attention levels even higher right now than he did to get the move done. This is going to be a fantastic final battle to the end, because Bartosic is not done yet.
Nope, not by any stretch. We know Bartosic is a little bit better on the straights here. He's just got to hold through the middle sector. That's the key. Of course, Bartosic started today in P6, gained 2 places up into 4th position, when 4th and 5th came together of Jin Se-hyuk and, Se-hyuk, and then Darren Parker, who both retired from this race very early on, the only retirements from this race. But you can see the middle sector is dropping back 0.6 of a second. Watch another 10th go away through here as he misses the apex. 7 tenths, 8 tenths now. This is where it goes away for Thomas Bartosic, and that's why Jorge Martinez is going to be clear with a lap to go.
Yep, he's got enough of a breathing space now. And Halliburton starting the final lap, and his tyres have hit that cliff again, but big advantage in his favour. Marco Noom was 7.5 seconds back, so not too much of an issue. Ooh, while we were away watching Martinez and Bartosic go at it, Shirakawa got back through on Kent Nielsen, so that's not done.
No, turn 4 it was, and he had to do it the long way round to get it done. So that's a great battle as well. You got Kent Nielsen trying to stay with, and he's got to be really aggressive against Shirakawa here in the fight for 5th and 6th positions. They go through the curve of the Sol. You can see just a wiggle. Kent Nielsen gets it caught, but look at how it's cost him. An extra 10.5 goes. John Atkinson Jr. also fighting here on the final lap with Adam Webb. What a way to finish the season we are getting at this stage. But up the hill will go Kane Halliburton, and if anything's a mark to go by, we remember when Matteo Ugolotti made the challenge to Ben Fuller. Well, Kane Halliburton, mark my words, if he wants a full season, he's challenging Ugolotti for this title. It's Nurmela who will come to the line then in second. Marquez.
Marquez is around. John Atkinson Jr. is around as well, so we're going to have to get a couple of replays up. Bartosic ends up on the back of the podium. And will Marquez be able to hold on? Yes, he will. Shirakawa versus Nielsen's not done. Ken Nielsen's got a great run out of the final corner. He'll get DRS right at the end. He may be able to get this done.
Oh, this is going to be close, but Shirakawa's got enough drive. It's a quick launch to the line, and Shirakawa will hold on for a top 5 finish with the number 5. Hell of a race, says one Mr. Kent Nielsen. Let's catch us on the virtual racing school replay then, the 2 incidents that we've got. First and foremost, Marquez exactly does what Ayrton Senna does. Exactly. You can see he goes through, tries to put the power down, and it's almost mirror image as they go through. It's scary how accurate that is, but he's able to get it going. At turn 4, though, different fight altogether as they go through. John Atkinson Jr. defending from Adam Webb. Webb's got to go to the outside here to get the move done, and as he turns into the corner, is there contact? Nope. That's just a case of losing the rear end all on your own, John.
Yep, that was just bouncing it over the curb, unfortunately, so sad to see that, but what a race and what an event we've seen once again. We get the results up on screen.
We certainly do. Kane Halliburton then picks up the win, does so in 55 minutes, 45 seconds, and does so by 7.1 over Marco Nurmela. It's Thomas Bartosic then in 3rd position with Jorge Marquez, a spin on the final lap, the final braking zone there. It's 4th overall. Yuki Shirakawa had his very strong defense to deal with. He manages to just hold off Kent Nielsen there in 6th, with Thomas Knoll in 7th and Liam Buckley there in 8th place. It's Adam Webb who finishes 9th, and Klaus Siemens, give credit, the one-stop strategy paying off. He gets a top 10 for his troubles after starting in 8th position. He had a drag race to the line as well with the driver who finished in 11th. That was John Pat Kelly. Renato Augusto finishes 12th after his dramas on lap 1 with John Atkinson Jr. His spin means that he was demoted all the way to the back there. And look at that. That was really close over the line. Just 0.04 of a second splitting them as they crossed. But a lap down being Steve Giori, Jonathan Oshalim, Kleber Toffoli, and Christoph Montz. Jinsei Yuk is then out of this race, along with Darren Parker, both of whom got caught up early on and in troubles. And as such, their race is coming to a premature close. But this season comes to a wonderful close. And Jay, you know, we have to say it, this has been an incredible season, but one that was dominant in terms of the top of the field. Matteo Ugolotti will be looking behind him, feeling that he's quite confident after that season, but there needs to be improvements from Marquez and Wood if they're to get through. But they also have to be worried here, or Ugolotti must be a little bit worried, if Kane Halliburton decides to do a full season.
Yeah, and we never know what other ring-ins we might get that interested in coming in for next season as well. We're looking forward to next season already, and we will be back again next season as well here on SimSpeed for the iRacing Grand Prix Series. I'm looking forward to it already. We will have a week off next week to catch our breath and have a little bit of a rest and recharge our batteries, but then we'll be back into it again in 2 weeks' time.
We certainly will. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with Week 13, so make sure you check SimSpeed TV.
Shameless plug?
No, not at all. There isn't going to be a Max Pass 14 that's going to be going on. No, not at all. But if you do want to join in, then sign-ups are open. But anyway, massive thanks has to go to those who get it done. The Virtual Racing School has been on the replays for us this season and will do for next season as well. From the team that's been working hard on it, from the iRacing Open Wheel community, from us, of course, Jay Kennedy pulling double duties, cameras and commentary, from everyone who's joined us throughout the season, from the likes of Sam Cooper-Bennett, Scott Fountain and co. I've been Jake Sperry. That is the way that you want to see a season end. A lot of close-fought battles, a lot to dissect as they go through. The championship may have been long decided by Matteo Ugolotti's fantastic form, but What you can say is that there are challengers, and there are some really quick challengers on top of that as well. It's not often that you see Jorge Martinez 4th position in 21 seconds adrift. Kane Halliburton and Marco Nurmela, they put their mind to it. They could be the ones who challenge for a title next season. We'll see you 2 weeks from now when it comes to the iRacing Grand Prix Series, because that is when a new season awaits us.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?